Hi Anita, thanks for coming along and joining us here today, here at the Ellerslie Flower Show. You're going to talk to us about these little critters here, mudfish.
Yeah.
And what's your background and how did you come to be dealing with these?
I work for the Department of Conservation and I'm a ranger and I work with all sorts of native plants and animals and that includes fish.
Right.
So I've kind of got a generalist job, but mudfish are our second most endangered fish in Canterbury. So that's, I spend quite a bit of time working with them.
Right. And why the name mudfish? What are they?
I guess they were first named mudfish because they were found by early settlers digging up their gardens.
Right.
Because what happens is when the water level drops in summer, the mudfish don't die. They actually will follow cracks in the earth and tree roots down the ground. Nobody's too sure how deep down they can go, but they've been found over a metre down beneath the soil level.
So that's some serious tunnels.
Yeah. And they've got strengthened bones on their head, so that's probably so they can push their way in.
So they actually drill themselves in.
I mean, they probably, because they're really eel-like, it's probably they do have to follow natural cracks. It's not like they, can kind of go like that. But yeah, that's why they're called mudfish, because they can be, survive down in the dirt.
So back in the day, you could be digging up the spuds and you'd have some mudfish flapping around.
Yeah. They were called the fish and chip fish for a while. But
oh, really? Right.
Yeah.
And how many mudfish species are there in New Zealand?
Yeah, there's five.
5.
So there's one that's only fairly recently discovered on the Chatham Islands, and then we've got 3 in the North Island, and one of those North Island ones is also found in the South Island, along with our Canterbury mudfish. So we've got 2 in the South Island, and
Right, and Canterbury mudfish is Cantabrian.
Yeah, it is. So the northernmost place we've found it is just beside the Ellerslie River. So its boundary in the north is the Ellerslie, and then in the south it's just been found on the south bank of the Waitaki River.
Right.
So strictly Canterbury really.
Right. And they're endangered now because mainly...
Yeah, they're the second most endangered fish in the country, and I guess it's a familiar story. The number one reason would have been habitat destruction. They would once have been pretty widespread across the Canterbury Plains and all the wetlands and spring-fed streams.
Right.
And then, with Maori and early Europeans coming, there was just wholesale burning and clearing and draining of wetlands, really. I think we've lost about 95% of our wetlands.
Right, so they literally ran out of water.
Yeah, so along with that went the fish.
Right.
And now they're also threatened because of predators. So introduced trout are really quite voracious predators of native fish.
Right.
And so basically where you find mudfish, there are no trout at all. And where you find trout, there are no mudfish.
Right.
But unfortunately there's a lot more streams with trout than with mudfish.
Yeah.
And then you have other predators, like eels and even, your birds like herons and shags and things. But
But they wouldn't be getting a good feed anymore.
No. And these guys are nocturnal too, so probably the birds, don't take too many of them.
Right.
But they're interesting. It's like the adults are nocturnal, but when they have their young come out during the day, they're diurnal. And that's basically because their parents eat them.
Oh, right. Friendly.
Yeah, so they're just trying to avoid their parents.
Right. So where are they found now?
Well, I've got to say, there's very few sites really, and unfortunately it seems to be decreasing at a fairly rapid rate.
Right. But they have found a few little spots that haven't been filled or drained.
Yeah.
Right.
So in North Canterbury we have them around Oxford and Hororata, and there's some out around Pegasus Town where that's going to be.
Right.
And then you're looking at sort of South Canterbury there through Ashburton and close to Geraldine.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a few sites through South Canterbury there.
Right. Well, should we see if we can get a closer look at one?
Do you want to have a look?
Yeah.
We'll see if we can catch one.
Right.
So in here we've got
How big do they get? Are these guys like full grown? Or... Oh, they do get them.
Yeah, so in here we've got a mixture of ages. So the smallest ones in here, these will be last year's young.
Right.
And then these, even the big ones in here, they're pretty small for a mudfish. The biggest ones get to about 18 centimetres, and they get really fat too.
Right.
So we'll try and catch one of these bigger ones. Oh, I just want one. Here we go.
Well, that's a good sized wee fish, isn't it?
Yeah. So they're quite comfortable out of water.
Yeah.
Because they can breathe air. So if you watch them for a while, you can see they've got really eel-like movements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not too distressed. I mean, they're not flapping like a fish if you put
No.
it down on the wharf, are they?
And they'll take a breath of air
Right.
after they've been out for a while. Yeah. So they've got strengthened bones in their heads, and that allows them to push down into the dirt. Yeah.
They're actually quite cute, aren't they?
Shall we put them back in?
Yeah. So breathing air is a strategy for
Yeah.
surviving poor
Yeah.
conditions.
Yeah. So even in really stagnant, yucky ponds, they can survive. Yeah, by coming to the surface.
So they'll survive water that even an eel wouldn't tolerate.
Sometimes.
Right.
I mean, it's not good for them, and you'll find they will have diseases and things.
Yeah.
So they're not healthy. But yeah, there's definitely some sites that are pretty yucky that I've found them in. In fact, there was one site that the only reason there was still water in it was that a guy was pumping a septic tank into it. So
And they were there.
yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty revolting.
Yeah.
But
You didn't have to fish those ones.
yeah, I did. Yeah, unfortunately, that was a water race that was closing. We've been trying to keep it open because it was one of the safe sites for mudfish.
Right.
But basically, the water race was closing down because nobody really used it as a water race anymore.
Right.
So we were trying to fish out as many fish as we could to protect the population.
Oh, so the local people weren't using that water, and they were just...
No. So this was around Horata, and the water race dated the earliest parts of it from the 1880s when they used to use it for stock water and everything.
So they've got more modern alternatives now.
A lot of them are using piped water.
And the races are just getting in the way of farming.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you can understand it when you see some of the landowners' paddocks, and they've got, like a water race that branches, 3 ways and splits their paddock into pieces.
Right,
But it's just because nobody's using the water race, it hasn't been maintained. They haven't had all the weed diggers go through.
Right.
So that's why there's still mudfish in it.
Right. So that would be close to ideal habitat, would it?
Yeah, we found
Fairly clean water.
Yeah, it was. And there were freshwater crayfish in it and freshwater mussels.
Right.
And I got some of my highest catches in there. We set these traps for them, and I was catching up to 8 fish per trap, which is pretty high.
Right. So what sort of a future are they facing?
Yeah.
Are there places for them to go?
Yeah, well, so at the moment we know them from about 80 sites, and about a quarter of those have gone extinct. And this is just sort of in the last 10 years.
Oh, really?
And then, and probably another quarter are under threat.
Right.
And another quarter we don't know about. And there's just very few sites where you can say, no, it's okay, they're safe.
Right.
Because even if you have a safe site for mudfish, it all depends what's happening upstream and what the neighbours are doing. So you could have a reserve, but it still doesn't guarantee that they're safe.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's got so dire that we're looking at trying to establish some new populations.
Right.
So we're looking at Travis in Christchurch City.
Right.
We've done some fishing in there, and we're working.
Right in the middle of town is good enough.
Yeah. So we're working with the trust there.
Right.
And we've been doing some fishing and found that there's very low numbers of eels in one part of the wetland.
Right.
So we think that'll be suitable for mudfish.
So eels are a problem for them.
Yeah, only in high numbers. So the odd eel, especially if they're small eels, it's okay, but it's just, especially when you're trying to get a population established, any fish that gets eaten, it counts towards building up your population.
Yes, sure. So the hope is to get them going in Travis, and then when other opportunities come along, we could. Right.
Yeah. So that's something we're looking at the moment, is just trying to find some safe sites.
Right.
Preferably the land would have legal protection, so it's a sort of a guarantee that nothing's going to change at it.
Yeah. And what do they need if people are considering a project, and would planting along the riverbanks help or hinder, or what are they eating?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, really, with mudfish, it's all about the water. So what happens on the banks isn't quite so important for them.
Right.
But I guess if you've got some, native plantings along the edge, you'll have all sorts of insects in those plants, and then they fall in and provide food.
Right.
And also it just stops, sediment washing in. And, So it's a good thing to have sort of native plantings along your stream.
Right.
It's just not essential for them.
And no trout.
Yeah, no trout.
Any other projects that Doc's looking at?
Yeah, we're looking at working with Peacock Springs and Lady Isaac to establish some populations in some of the old gravel pits there.
Right.
And then again, that would be safe sites for them, and we could use those sites as bases for translocation, so we could take fish from there into some new places.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what are the 3 or 4 key things that people can do to help, would you say?
Yeah, I guess the first one would be to join maybe a restoration program that is helping to restore some of these wetlands. There's a lot of people doing good work, doing planting and cleaning up waterways. That'd be one thing.
Yeah.
Another thing would be to look for them, because in about October, November, these guys, when they have their fry, the fry are out during the day, and you can see them in the water.
Right.
They'll just be, they're only about 2 centimetres long, and they just look like almost like whitebait, and they'll just be swimming in the water during the day.
What month again was it?
About October, November, December, sort of late spring, early summer. So if you think you might have them, or you think you've got a waterway that's suitable, that'd be something you could do.
Seeing lots of little guys on the surface.
Yeah, and then give us a call, because it could be quite important.
Right.
So that's some key things. And I guess there's others, like don't go moving weeds around between sites, so the whole clean your gear before you go to new waterways, so you're not spreading new weeds and that sort of thing.
I don't suppose they cope with some of the exotic aquatic weeds that we've got now.
Yeah, because they can really choke up the waterways, so not quite so good.
No? Well, thanks for coming along.
It's all right.
It's been great.
Shall we do some fishing? We could go see if we've got any in your stream.
Could do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.